Hi, I'm josephrlewis, and I write adventures. And today I want to talk about an adventure, a new adventure that I wrote. It is called The Perilous Path of the Cursed Camel. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what it is, and then we'll go over the process of how I wrote it. The Perilous Path of the Cursed Camel is currently available in PDF on DriveThruRPG and my itch page. It's also available in print on Amazon. The PDF is free or pay what you want, so please go grab it and let me know what you think of it. So first off, I'll talk about what this adventure is, what's contained, how it works, all that good stuff. So, The Perilous Path is a one-shot adventure that's actually designed for convention play. It's for Shadowdark, Old School Essentials, and Cairn. It's compatible with all three. And for Shadowdark and Old OSE, it's for levels 2 and 3. The setup, the concept of the adventure is pretty straightforward, but it's a little weird. The party can be anyone, and they can be anywhere. They could be in the tavern, walking down the road, they could be in jail, wherever you want to start, and the camel magically appears, this strange, bizarre camel. And it says, "I regret to inform you, but you've all been cursed by the witches of Grome. And in a few moments, I'm going to begin teleporting you across space through the world toward the Well of Grome, where the witches of Grome are waiting to eat your souls. But you do have one chance to survive. On our journey, teleporting through space, if you're able to find rare and powerful magical relics along the way, you can trade those in at the witches to keep your soul." So hopefully the players will spend their time journeying across the space, exploring, collecting relics, so they can then negotiate and bargain with the witches in the big finale at the end of the adventure. So how does this work? What are the components of the adventure? First off, the adventure mainly consists of 12 locations or scenarios that I've created, and every time the players teleport a little bit closer, the GM will roll a d12 and select from this list of scenarios and different locations. The players arrive, and then they have 30 minutes of real time to explore the space, interact with NPCs, negotiate with folks, steal things, battle monsters if needed, and hopefully get some of those rare relics before they are, at the end of 30 minutes, teleported to the next location. At which point the GM again rolls a d12, gets a new random location, and the process starts over again. And in this way, the adventure takes place in these 30-minute increments. So, if you're playing at a convention and you have 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours for your window, the GM can say, okay, well, I have this much time. I will play this many locations, and then when we hit that mark, we'll then go to the final confrontation with the witches, and we will end exactly on time and have a complete and fulfilling adventure. And I myself have done this many times in playtesting, and I can confirm that the system does work, and you can end exactly on time and have a complete story all wrapped up. So what are some of these locations? What are these scenarios that the players get to play through? They're very diverse. They're very different. They include a frozen tundra with woolly velociraptors. There is a cursed swamp full of goblins and little fey creatures that want to eat your teeth. There's a desert scenario at night where there are vampire merchants that have just been attacked by giant scorpions. There's a warship at sea. There's a demon-infested destroyed city. The interior of a bank vault. There's a goblin maze. There's an old battlefield full of spirits and ghosts who want to gamble with you. There's a little village of hidden mechanical people who do not want to be found. There's the top of a mountain range covered in diamonds. All sorts of very different places, including the interior of a dragon's stomach. So these are all the different kinds of places that the players will be teleporting to in random order before they reach their final location, and hopefully along the way find some of those relics. And what are these relics I keep mentioning? Well, at the end of the adventure, there is a D66 table. That means there are 36 relics, and they are all very bizarre and interesting and diverse objects with different powers, which include weapons and clothing and tools, as well as pets and symbiotes and prosthetic limbs, all sorts of fantastic wild things that you can acquire and use along the way, as well as negotiate with at the end. And if you have more than you need, you get to keep them. And then in the final confrontation, the last scene of the adventure, you go to the Well of Grome, and you meet the Witches of Grome. and you can either just pay them off straight. You can give them some relics, and you get uncursed. You get your soul back, and you can escape. You can negotiate with them further. You can give them extra relics and try to get more boons and powers and maybe little wishes. They also have, spoilers, don't let anyone know, there are extra relics in that last scene with the witches. You can also, of course, just fight the witches. That's always an option. And if they don't hex you to death, then you can defeat them and get all the stuff, win all the things, and get home with way too much loot. So that's a quick overview of the adventure, The Perilous Path of the Cursed Camel. So that's what it is, but how did I write it? How did we get from there to here? So, if you remember from earlier videos, we talked about my process, which involved doing lots of research, making lots of lists, turning lists into outlines, and that whole thing is pretty much how I wrote this adventure. So I started out making lots of lists, doing lots of research, and at the time I was very interested in sword and planet sort of fantasies, science fantasies, things from over 100 years ago, things like John Carter of Mars. I was rereading all of the Edgar Rice Burroughs novels, and I was watching the 2012 film that they made, which is very underrated. I'm a big fan of that movie. Everyone should go watch John Carter. It's very solid. I recommend it. But I was watching all this stuff, and I was beginning to write notes for a planetary romance or sword and planet sort of adventure, if not game. And the idea was that you would travel around from different moons, and these would be very different alien landscapes. So I was ordering my notes and creating these different settings. And I was also creating lists of weird planetary romance type objects, weapons, tools, and things that you would find, which had pseudo-scientific names and abilities. And over time, as I was building out these notes, it was becoming more robust. I was getting closer to making a final product. I realized I didn't really want to do something in science fiction. I wanted to move something back towards fantasy. So I changed all of those moons into fantasy locations and landscapes, which didn't take much changing much at all. And then I reskinned all of the objects and tools and weapons and things, pulling away from the scientific leaning and leaning a little more towards fantasy. But if you look at them closely, you can still see a lot of that science fantasy influence. So I had these elements, I had diverse settings, I had all these diverse objects. I now needed to tie that together with a story, a mechanism. And I also had this drawing of a camel that I made a very long time ago and had never used, and I really wanted to use. And somehow all of these ideas came together and percolated, and what I came up with was this concept of the camel has come, it is conveying a curse to you. I didn't want the camel to be the bad guy, though, so it's just the messenger that goes with you along the way and explains. It's your exposition device, and she tells you what's going on, and she is your guide going towards your doom with the witches of Grome. So after I had the concept and all of my notes, I then had to sit down and do the actual writing. I wrote up the whole document, I put it all together, and once it was complete, I began playtesting. I playtested many times in several different systems, obviously, because it's meant for different systems. I got some good feedback from my playtesters. We talked about playtesting in a prior video. And once all that was complete and together, I felt pretty good about it. I made it pretty. I turned it into a PDF. I hit publish on all of the PDF websites. I then made a slightly different version that was print compatible, and that's now at Amazon. It's being approved at DriveThru and Mixum and Lulu and all these different places, so it will be available in different formats on different websites. So in addition to being an experiment in structure, because it has this flexible length, you can do as many locations as you want to fill a specific length of time. It's obviously also a bit of an experiment in system, because as I described, it is compatible with Shadow Dark, Old School Essentials, and Cairn, which are three similar but not that similar systems. So how did I do that? I needed to write in a system-neutral manner. What I did was, for any given location, it says, there's a creature, and it might say, for this creature, use the beast stat block. So for instance, if you're fighting the giant scorpions in the desert, that's the beast stat block. If you're fighting the woolly velociraptors in the tundra, that is also the beast stat block. So if you are a Shadow Dark GM, and you wanted to be playing this in Shadow Dark, there is a Shadow Dark guide, one page in the document, and all you need is that one page to reference for all the locations. So when you go to all these different locations and it says there's a beast, you just look at your Shadow Dark guide and it says here's the stat block for a beast, and then you just reskin it. You describe it differently. You say, oh, this one attacks with its claws or it attacks with its fangs, but whatever, it's the same dice. The numbers are the same, you just describe it differently. And that simplifies how much information the GM has to be aware of and manage. Just one page. of stat blocks and rolls and numbers. So please go grab a copy of The Perilous Path of the Cursed Camel. It's available just about everywhere. I've got some links down below. And it's free or pay what you want, so pretty easy to grab. Or you can give me a couple bucks if you want to. I appreciate that. And please let me know what you think. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I'm experimenting with a lot of different ideas with the structure, again, for convention play or one-shot play, but also with the, the system neutral, is it accessible to everyone with these little guide pages, which is something I sort of borrowed from Valley of Flowers, which we talked about in a prior video. So I'd love to hear from you and see how it goes at your table. And I think that's about all for now for the Perilous Path of the Cursed Camel. So good luck out there.